Want to see the best dial on a watch for 2024? Wow, let's get into it! Yes, and welcome to the Mad Watch Collector Show. And I've got a couple of stunning watches for you today from Zero West. Yes, it has given me great pride to be associated with a brand like Zero West because they have a true passion for not only creating fantastic watches, but for building a legacy and trying to do different things that no other company has done. And if they have done, they haven't done as well. They have their own premises where their own watchmaker assembles the watches and regulates the movements. And all the parts that make up a Zero West watch have either been made, treated, or finished around the area where they are. And I have been very fortunate to have not only visited the HQ, but to have handled and seen pretty much all of their watches. And each reference is like a time capsule. The watches are always based around a story that involves either British engineering history or British military engineering history. And if you haven't heard of Zero West, hopefully you're going to come away from this show at least appreciating what this company does. Recently, it was the 80th anniversary of D-Day. And to commemorate this day, Zero West have come out with a couple of watches that anyone that is into their British military history are gonna go pretty nuts over. Now, these two watches are to commemorate a certain operation called Jericho that happened on the 18th of February 1944. Amiens prison, which is just north of Paris, was the target for the Allied forces as 120 people from the French resistance were due to be executed in a matter of hours, and the aim of the operation was to A, bomb the walls that would hopefully give a chance for the prisoners to escape, and B, to bomb the guard rooms to give those prisoners even more of a chance. Now, this operation was led by Wing Commander and Group Captain Percy Pickard, who was a pretty famous name in RAF at that time. Anyway, he flew one of 18 Mosquitoes. Believe it or not, the structure of these planes were wood, nicknamed the Wodden Wonders, and they had a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine on either wing. To escape detection, these planes had to fly low level at about 50 feet from the ground. They had to fly so low that the bombs had a special timing fuse on them to allow the plane to move out the way before explosion. These bombs did the trick and breached the walls of the prison, and some prisoners were able to escape. Now, unfortunately for Percy Pickard and his navigator, they didn't survive this operation, but at the time it was deemed as a success, especially in the propaganda machine. But there is quite a bit of conspiracy around this operation because it seems as though the French resistance never knew that this operation was going to happen. Also, there were never going to be any executions at the prison. Now, some say it was a little bit of a deception ploy from the Allied forces. They were very close to invading France, and I guess they were trying to keep Germany on their toes as to where they were going to invade from. The reason why this operation and the Mosquito is quite important to this watch, you're going to have to hang around for. But it's time we did see this said watch. Are you Zero West ready? Let's go. So with all these beautiful watches, you get an official Pelly case, which I believe a tank is able to drive over, and it should be all right. I probably wouldn't test the theory, but still. Anyway, this is the first time Zero West have brought out both size watches at the same time. It's also a first when it comes to dials, because this is the first aviation style watch that isn't inspired by a cockpit dial on the plane. And for me personally, I think this is probably, it's the best dial I have seen this year on a watch. Even though this is a brand new watch and a new design, it still has that Zero West DNA to it, which is what I think is so important with a brand. Now, these two watches are a little bit different to each other. I'll tell you about them at the end of the show. I'm going to concentrate on the 41mm because that's the one I would own and wear. But I like the fact Zero West are catering to all their audience. Something I noticed straight away with this case, usually Zero West have machined flutes that go on the side of the case. They're not on this one. We do have those modular lugs, which are polished. The screws are matte, which gives a really good look. We've got a fantastic crown, which is synonymous with the brand as well. It's in the style of a firing button from a cockpit of these amazing planes. And I know I'll talk about it in a minute. This watch with this green leather strap it goes so well. And first impressions of the watch, this is a winner. Quick spec check. Right, so the watch I'm concentrating on is the 41mm diameter case. It's 13.5mm thick, 49 lug to lug with a 20mm lug width. We've got a sapphire sandwich, sapphire protecting the dial, and sapphire on the case back display. More on that in a minute. The crown is screw-in, and that gives this watch 100 meters of water resistance. Now, with these watches, you get the FKM black rubber strap, and this vulcanized rubber is truly magnificent. But Zero West are also offering an additional strap that you can purchase as well. This fantastic green leather one where the stitching matches the brass work on the dial. Smells like a new set of boots. The tang buckle is phenomenal, matches the lugs, and when you buy a Zero West watch, you get a phenomenal strap. Doesn't matter what you get. Okay, let's look at the face. Dial time. And I have been able to review some fantastic dials from Zero West in the past, but as I've said, I think this is their best one because it doesn't just evoke aviation. I think there's a bit of field watch in there as well. This is the first time Zero West has ever made a textured dial. It's also brass. The handset are brass as well. The colour of the numerals match the handset and are deeply filled with this lume. I love the sloping chapter ring that has the 24-hour markers, and that Zero West logo is just raised off the dial. It's perfect. And the gold Union Jack just, as with all Zero West watches, around where the 6 o'clock is, you'll see coordinates. Those coordinates will take you to Amiens prison, where the operation took place in 1944. It's at this point we turn the watch around and we see the display case back, but instead of the movement, we've got a coin-like piece of metal with a shadow silhouette of a Mosquito, the HX909, which was one of the Mosquitos that was involved in that Operation Jericho. In here we have a piece of crankshaft from a Merlin engine that was part of this plane. Ramrod 584, that was actually what the mission was called at the time. But to have a piece of a Mosquito that served in the British military during World War II, it's a phenomenal thing. And the lengths that Zero West have to go to get you a piece of Mosquito is incredible, which is all done locally. But the delicacy of appreciation for these military operations, I don't think is done any better anywhere else. So we've got lume on the handset, lume on the indices, and lume on the hour markers. Out of 10, how much does this puppy glow? Just the way you want it. An incredible dial with an incredible glow. Powering the watch is a Sellita SW200-1. It's a top premium grade of this movement that has been regulated by the in-house watchmaker. 40 hours power reserve and sweeps away at 28,800 beats per hour. Hello. On my 6.5-inch wrist, and this watch is awesome. This is quite a big reference for Zero West, as I think it bridges the gap between aviation and field watches. Me personally, I think this is the best dial they've done. The texture, the brass handset, and those three-dimensional numerals, it's just awesome.
Could you just click that like button, please? It really helps the channel. Thank you.
Okay, so even though these two watches are very similar, they have little differences to them. The case is 41 here, the case is 44 here, and is what Zero West are more known for. It's definitely 10-15 grams heavier, that's for sure. The polished lugs have polished screws, but when you look at the dial, that chapter ring does go a lot deeper, and there is a golden brass ring before you do slope down, which I really do like. However, I'm still a massive fan of this 41. In my head, when I know a movement is around 30mm in diameter, having a smaller case means it's not suspended in a big space of a case. Both magnificent watches. If you haven't handled a Zero West watch, you need to go to the shows. I think they're off to New York this year. Now at the end, we have to come to the price. And I know a load of you are gonna go, you what? Now Zero West are only making 100 of each. There's not a hell of a lot of crankshaft shaft to go around. But to buy one of these watches where the cases are made in England, the finishing is done in England, the dials are made in Switzerland, the movement is made in Switzerland, the watches are assembled in the UK by their own watchmaker who regulates the movement, pressure tests it,
And all that jazz.
these special watches are going to go for £3,600. And a lot of you are going to outright say straight away, it's not for you. And that's absolutely fine. But I can guarantee you there are at least 200 people in the world that are going to want to snap these bad boys up. And if you're one of the lucky guys and girls that do, I think you're getting one of Zero West's best watches so far. These are superb watches. Well, here it is, my wife's opinion of the M1 from Zero West. I like the face, it's giving me sandpaper vibes. It's a big knobbly bit on the side, looks like a hip flask. And that yellow logo looks like Top Gun. Okay, not a bad review at all. I'm not sure what the hip flask was all about, but Zero West, you got through it unscathed. Thank you so much to Zero West for sending these watches in to review. I honestly get a massive kick out of these watches. Just the effort, the passion, the stories, the history to these things. Graham and Andy from Zero West are a fantastic example of having a brand outside of the Omegas, the Rolexes, and being able to have a deeper relationship with not only the owners, but with the watches. Most luxury watches today are made by robots. And everyone's got them. These are special, and I will continue to support this brand for as long as they want me to. Link to these watches are in the description below. Also, get on their mailing list and find out when they are at a show near you, because these watches are really worth handling. I mean it. Thanks for watching till the end. If you want a bit more of the Mad Watch Collector, why don't you join and get with the, the fun crew? But if I've got you for a few more minutes, why don't you click this one? Oh, this is sensational. Yes. Phenomenal, in fact. Go on, click it. You'll love it. It's pretty good. It's, yeah, go on. Still, whenever you're ready, go on, click it. Click it!